I hope I'll get it out.
All right, so Jeremy, welcome to the podcast.
Yeah, happy to be here.
The first question that I wanted to ask you is, what did you do for your studies?
I studied computer science. Actually, throughout also in high school, I was always involved with computers, programming, making my own games, or writing programs to question my French verbs, all that sort of stuff. No, I always love computers. I love the possibility that they offer us. So I thought when it was time to choose a university, I went for Delft and I studied computer science there.
Oh, so the TU Delft?
Yeah.
Oh, nice. And do they have like a bachelor degree there for computer science? Or?
Yes. So it starts with Technical Informatics, so not a scientific approach, but a more applicable approach to computer science. And from there, I went into the computer science master. And it was a great environment. I loved studying in Delft.
So they were more practical than it was theoretical?
I think so, yeah.
In my studies, I did information system, computer science information system. We have, if you want to be an information system or a data scientist, you have to go through the theory first, so you can manipulate the data in sort of way. So we had to do theory, and then part of the theory, when we learned it, then you can learn the practical.
No,
that's how I did it, but yours is more practical. You immediately jumped into...
Yeah, exactly. I mean, in Delft we always had a lot of group assignments and collaboration with companies outside the university or other universities, and that was a fantastic time. I mean, one of my most fond memories was studying and living in Japan for I think 7 months.
Wow.
And we were just doing research at the University of Osaka, building there and distributed peer-to-peer application for phones, and that was before the smartphone era.
Nice.
So I always loved Delft for offering these possibilities. Obviously you had to study and work very, very hard, but we were always building stuff.
So they send you to Japan?
Not exactly. We had the bachelor project, and you could just do it in the Netherlands. But together with two friends, I wanted to do it in Japan.
Where did you go in Japan?
Osaka, University of Osaka.
Oh, nice.
Fantastic time. It was. I've been lucky to see a lot of the world, but that one trip will remain the biggest culture shock of my life.
What's one thing that shocked you?
Well, I remember arriving there. So we flew into Tokyo, and it was my first time in Asia. It was my first time in Japan. And so we flew into Tokyo, we landed there, we had to take the Shinkansen, the bullet train to Osaka.
Nice.
So that was already an experience, but the entire flight I was not able to sleep, so I was exhausted. And I remember, so I sat in my seat, and the train conductor came by to check the tickets. Obviously I was so tired, so wasted that I could not find my ticket. He just believed me, saying I have a ticket, I just can't find it.
Wow.
So he believed me, and before when he entered the cabin and when he left the cabin, he made a deep bow. I remember looking outside the window. I saw all those packed little Japanese houses. Then I did fall asleep.
Yes.
About 2 hours later, we arrived at Umeda in Osaka center, and there was these gigantic concrete buildings with all these Japanese and Chinese signs on it in neon light. You had these walking bridges over the crossroads, live music bands playing rock music, all these thousands of Japanese people crossing. It was a sight. It felt like a scene out of, let's say, Blade Runner or something, or a parallel universe.
Yes, that's what they say usually about Japan. Japan is a whole another world.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I can imagine. And this one thing about the bowing thing, did you
feel when you were there that you had to do it as well when they did it too? Did you feel like out of respect you would have done the same thing?
Well, you do it sort of as an automatism. I mean, you see them bow, you do it as well. And then we arrived at Osaka. We found our dormitory. The next day we were starving. So I went to look for food, and I went to a supermarket, and it was still very early, so the supermarket was not yet open. They were cleaning it, so I just walked inside because the door was open, but it was not open. And this cleaning lady, she tried to explain to me, we're not open, in the most adorable English. And Japanese people, when they feel ashamed, because for example they don't feel confident speaking English, they'll keep their hands in front of their mouth.
Oh, like this?
Yeah, like that. So that was extremely adorable, and then I sort of understood, okay, I have to come back later. And then she made a bow, and automatically I also made a bow. And then, because I was a guest, she should have the last bow, so she made another bow. And so I did another bow, and that went on for a couple of times until I started laughing, and I said, thank you, I'll be back later. They're so polite. It's incredible.
I remember a friend of mine, he's British, and he told me the story of his time in Japan. He said he lived there for like 2 years straight. Then he went back to England, and then with his friends they had dinner, and when they finished he bowed. It was so automatic with him that he did that, and they started laughing at him, and then till this day they just make fun of that. But I think that's happened. You know, even when you go to Thailand, they put their hands together and what is it, Kawatisika or something like that.
Oh, your Thai is much better than mine already, but
they do that, so you kind of also want to do it. It's just, I don't know, it's contagious.
Absolutely, and that's one thing that I like about Asia or traveling in general. You meet these fantastic people with different cultures, different backgrounds, and it's an enrichment for our lives.
And that's a lot of people are actually able to get out of their homeland and explore other countries. It's, I think, difficult for a lot of people to actually even see that. Oh, okay. So, what was your graduation project about?
In Japan, or
in your study, at the end of the semester, you usually do a project.
Well, in the project in Japan, that was this peer-to-peer framework for mobile telephones. We only did a small part because we were there for 7 months, so there's only that much you can do. It was a lot of fun. I learned a lot. My master, when I graduated from my master, I was working on semantics. I was and what I wrote was this crawler that would crawl all these event websites in Amsterdam, and then would read them semantically. So this page is about a concert, so we classify it on the music. It's this band. It would recognize the time and the date automatically in the text. And it would then order all these events happening. I chose the city of Amsterdam, so it would order all these events that were happening in Amsterdam, and then you would be able to search them. Like, hey, I'll be visiting Amsterdam between this period. I want to do something music or something other culturally. I'll bring children, etc. And the system, the basic system, I would then be able to recommend. Okay, hey, you can go do this or you can go do that.
Did you have it live? Did you put it live?
No, I had a working prototype. I never bothered to put it live. But it was a fun project, and I always liked this kind of semantics. There's a lot of potentials in that.
Oh, that's fun. Did you so for computer scientists, do another one. Mm-hmm. What languages did you learn?
In which languages did I program? My very first one, my mother tongue of development, so to speak, was Turbo Pascal.
Okay.
That was a language we learned in high school.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, you could write simple programs in that. I wrote Snake back then, and all my classmates were playing it, so I was very proud of that. At college in Antwerp, I learned Oberon F, kind of the next language after Pascal. COBOL of all languages, terrible. I developed in C, C#, C.NET, Java, a little bit of Python, Ruby on Rails, PHP. What else?
Nice. What's your favorite?
A lot of people will think this. I'm swearing right now, but I go for Java because we work at the university. We mostly worked in Java, and it's a language I feel most comfortable with. If I were to start over right now, I think I would focus more on JavaScript. I don't develop that much anymore myself. But I really like all the JavaScript frameworks that are popping up right now.
Yeah, and it's actually the most used.
Yeah.
I gotta say. It's you find a lot of developers doing Java, then you will find C++ or C#. And it's really, really widely used everywhere.
Yeah.
So, and it's a fun language as well, and easy to learn, and
And then I really like this trend that you're seeing right now, that backends as a service. Like Firebase, for example. We at LizardApps we work a lot in Firebase. I think it's a fantastic language. As a developer, we should always look to minimize doing the same work, and the scalability, all those kind of things are tremendously important. And in the last couple of years, you see a big trend on that. I think the front-end languages are much more exciting nowadays.
It's you see it immediately, or you see the results.
Yeah, exactly. And there's so much happened also in that space.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, talking about LizardApp.
Yeah.
How did you start it? Like, what the idea came from? How did it come to you?
At the time, I was working at a different startup in Delft. I just graduated, and we were building this semantic newspaper. Basically, that you could get the news tailored to your interests. So at the time, nothing like that existed. It's always been very difficult to find good developers here in the Netherlands, but I think the trend is Europe or worldwide. And at that time, we needed developers for the startup. Now, the startup didn't make it for a various number of reasons, so while I was working at this startup, I tried building a development team, and I convinced one of my best friends, Guido, with whom I studied in Delft. I convinced him to start a development company so that I would have developers that could work on this idea that we were working on. So he did that, and we would then become their first clients. But by the time he started setting up LizardApps, which wasn't called LizardApps back then, the startup kind of fell apart. So I just thought, okay, I'll go do that. So I joined Guido to start LizardApps.
Oh, nice.
The first, Guido moved to Malaysia, where our developers are based. Most of our developers, we got some here as well. Guido moved to Malaysia, and the first name was, our working title was Dutch Koala, or Kuala Lumpur. We thought that was very, very funny. Then we realized, okay, a koala is a little bit, it's kind of a dumb animal. It just sits in the tree all day. It's not very dynamic. And we started using this online name generator to see what pops up, and which domain names are still available. And then at one point, LizardApps, and it has a nice ring to it. People tend to remember it. People think it's cute, so it stuck.
It is. It's kind of really cute. And I was just asking you, remember, why did you decide to name it Lizard? And then they said like, yeah, a lizard is, and you told me the story about there's a lizard is always on the wall.
Yeah.
But it's always there making weird noises.
Yeah, making weird noises. It moves fast, it can change. And that is, of course, is also an analogy for how software development should be. Too often you see products and they go with these very big increments, but it should be fast, it should be small. So I like the name.
And LizardApp now have 2 offices, one here and one in Malaysia.
Yeah, that's correct.
And how often do you go back and forth?
I try to go at least once per season. I think I go in total 5-6 times per year, so a little bit more. But yeah, Malaysia, Asia, I love the people, I love the culture. We have a fantastic team over there.
Yeah.
I mean, that's one of the things that I'm most proud of at LizardApps. Both here in Rotterdam and in Kuala Lumpur. It's a family, it's a group of friends. And I remember when my 2 colleagues, Raes and Jordi, went there for the first time, they immediately fell into a warm bath. They had a great time, and I know both of them can't wait to go back.
How did you start building this type of culture in your company? That you had friends and family, and then, and you grow with that. Mm-hmm. Maybe start with the co-founder. I cannot pronounce his name very well.
Hido.
Yeah. Hido or Hidor?
Hido. I mean, I'm saying it now with a soft Flemish G, but if the Dutch were to say it, it's like Guido.
Guido. Oh wow. How did you, to find the right? I remember we talked about this before.
Yeah.
To find the right co-founder, to find the right person to take this. To kind of raise this baby, which is your company. What would you say the first thing that a person should think about when choosing a co-founder? Or to feel? Or is it something you feel? Is it something you ask? Does it happen almost naturally?
In my case, I think it happened naturally. I mean, I know Guido, when I started in Delft, I think I met Guido on the 2nd day. And he finished his bachelor industrial design, but he wanted to go to computer science. He's a brilliant programmer. He wanted to go to computer science, and I was on my way to the mathematics lab, and so was he. And we were already running late. It was my 2nd or 3rd day living in the Netherlands as a Flemish native speaker. And he asked me, hey, do you know where the math lab is? So I answered in my most beautiful Flemish, and he was looking at me, I don't understand this. So I repeated it, and he's like, no, sorry, I don't understand you. He was looking at me if I was drunk or if I came from another planet, so I just made a move from there, follow me, I know where it is.
Oh, you couldn't speak English at the time?
Of course we could speak English, but I thought my Dutch, my Flemish was pretty understandable.
Oh, wow.
We arrived at a mathematics lab, and there were only 2 seats available. So we sat next to each other.
Meant to be.
Yeah, so we over the next couple of years, we went out a lot together, drank a lot of beer together, always these ideas. We did a lot of computer science practica assignments together, which was easy because he's such a good programmer that made so that's how I met. The right co-founder. I remember that we were talking about it, and it's a little bit like you can't force it.
Yeah.
At one point, you just meet somebody that you say, okay, together we're aligned in terms of business, in terms of work ethics. You cannot force it. It's a type of relationship that you have to build, and like any relationship, you cannot force it. And that's also it takes it back to the question of how do you create this team within your company, or this culture within your company, this team culture. You cannot force it. You just have to be, I think, authentic, be open for the input of other people, do a lot of listening. Most of our most of the people with whom we work together, or also our clients, our customers, they become friends. They invite us to their birthday parties. You need to feel committed. We're coming back to the topic of the co-founder. Starting my own company is probably one of the hardest things I ever did.
Yeah.
I love every second of it, but that doesn't mean it's easy. You need somebody with the right mindset. Somebody that is also willing to put in the long hours. Somebody that's willing to think out of the box. Somebody that can change their perspective, your company will change. So do you.
Yeah.
If I look at the type of company we were when we just started, we're a whole different company right now.
In what way, if you can give an example?
Well, the level of professionalism. In the beginning it was just a very small team. We were mainly focused on websites and doing a little bit of work as a subcontractor.
So you weren't as professional as you are right now. So at the beginning, it's just completely normal. Yeah,
but our largest assignment back then would be our smallest assignment back now. So that requires a whole different way of working and a whole different methodology. It's something else to build let's say, I'm holding now a cup to make a cup, than to build a rocket.
That's very true.
So our team had to reinvent itself constantly. Our clients became more and more professional. These big multinationals, they expect something very different than this bakery across the street that wants a simple website.
That's very true.
So you have to change your level of expectation management, communication, and I'm not saying one is better than the other. I'm just saying it's different.
Yeah. What about if I could go back to the founders and co-founders? I have a questions for you. You can answer from your experience.
Yeah.
Do you think when you look at a person and you want that person to be part of your company, do you look at them even personally in their personal life and ask questions to see not only their professional life or how can they act professionally or add something professionally to your company, but also their person as a person, their personal life? Do you look into that? Do you know what I mean? So for example, if you see a person who is stubborn or a person who say that they have a trait that is not necessarily can align with your company, do you take that as a something to look at? Or?
I think you have to be very, very critical about the person altogether, and I expect and I hope that they do the same with me. It's a two-way street. I mean, in Anna Karina, there is this opening quote. All happy families are happy in the same way, all unhappy families are unhappy in different ways. And I always find that very inspiring, because it's sort of whether we're building some sort of product or when you're building a team or when you try to be good at sports, doesn't matter, but you have to consider the entire spectrum. And vice versa. In the same way that you choose your co-founder will choose you. In the same way that you choose your investor will choose you. In the same way, your employees, you hire them, but they also apply for the job at your company. So it's always a two-way street.
Yesterday there was this company who runs tests on how to figure you out as a person. I don't know, it's Venture Cafe, if you went to it or not.
I was at the Venture Cafe, but I was mainly at the bar.
But the company, what it does, it tests you in a whole other level. So you look at they will take you to open a program on the computer and then choose colors, choose pictures, just fast, randomly, don't think too much, and then they can bring like traits of you, like you are, for example, an introvert, or you are a compassionate person, or do you think this way of this could change the way when people hire other people, that you're not only asking for the CV but also in the maybe intake interview or the interview that you're gonna run this test alongside with
Maybe. I mean, I don't know this particular test. I know a lot of these tests, like the Meyer-Bridge model, I believe. Then when you then dive into the scientific foundation, there doesn't tend to be a lot, as far as I understood. But I'm honestly not an expert on the subject. Why I do like these tests, not that I require them for the people that join LizardApps or something, far from it, but why I do like those tests, they give you something to talk about.
Yeah.
And that's always interesting. So they're a segue into a conversation about something.
Yeah.
And so suppose that the tests say, hey, you're an introvert. Okay, now we can talk about this. Maybe you feel different. Maybe you can then relate this score on the test to something in your personal life and you can talk about it. Maybe the test say, hey, you like the color blue or pink or whatever. Okay, fine. Now we have a different conversation starter. What for me is more important and easier said than done, and I'm still learning, is to trust my gut feeling more.
Yeah.
I mean, the brain, we were training that for years, from elementary school to all the way to university. But yeah, the gut feeling, we never do anything with that. But how do you feel? Is there this? Do you feel like, yes, this is the best thing ever, or do you feel like, I don't know what it is, but I still feel something?
Can you give an example where maybe you hired somebody and then your gut feelings were telling you no, but you didn't listen anyways, and then you felt like I should have listened to my gut feeling?
Well, when we were still a young company, at some point we the first hire we did here in the Netherlands. On paper I was very impressed, but my gut feeling was telling me, this is a little bit too good to be true. We did end up hiring the person. It didn't work out. Looking back, I would have said, you should have trusted your gut feeling.
Yeah.
That's difficult, and it's also something you need to learn. And hindsight is also always 20/20, as they say.
Yeah.
It's difficult. Right now, within LizardApps, for all the hires we have, we do have one rule. If one person that's involved in the entire process says, I don't know, I don't trust it, then we don't do it.
Oh wow! But as you grow, don't you think this is going to be more difficult to take the entire
we don't always involve the entire company. But let's say if we are hiring somebody, and let's say a team of 3 or 4 or 5, whatever is involved, it only takes one person to veto it.
Okay.
Because and that's definitely something I underestimated in the beginning. The culture of your team is tremendously important, and we as engineers, we think we can make everything. You can't. Some things you need to grow. And culture, team culture is definitely one of that.
But I think the team culture starts from the founders as you grow. So your culture, what is? If you can give 3 words that describes 3 words that describe your company culture, what would it be?
I would say fun, respect, hard work.
Oh, that's very nice. Actually, it's actually 3 nice words to put together, and then you will be LizardApp.
We have fun because we respect each other, and we work hard, and we respect our clients, and we're willing to work hard for our clients, and people need to commit to that. We like to give people and that's also in Asia. It's much more hierarchical than the Netherlands. Belgium, where I'm originally from, is also much more hierarchical than the flat Dutch corporate culture. But our Malaysian employees, I always feel that once they get used to this flat company culture, and that is more than okay, even more, it's encouraged to stand up to the boss. They really, really like that.
Wow. I thought that because it's in their culture, they're not as it is in Holland, that they wouldn't like it. They want the hierarchical way, because then they know who's boss, who I listen to. Don't you think this, you can add, I'm just throwing it out there, that you feel sometimes if I don't know who's boss, who do I know, who to answer to, who to, I don't like to use this word, but who to fear, who that will pay my salary at the end of the day, that I can listen. You know what I mean? Because when everybody is nobody's boss, then how do you be firm?
There's a difference. There is somebody that takes a final decision. But that person doesn't need to be me. When, for example, in a team something is decided, I'm perfectly fine that somebody else, a project manager, takes a final decision and overrules me. I mean, I don't know everything. Obviously, it's not always easy. At the same time, a good opinion is a good opinion. And if I can call them out on something that I don't believe in or that I see different, then why shouldn't they be able to call me out on it?
That's nice.
I mean, again, also this should be a two-way street. It's a partnership. It's together we're forming this very complex machine that makes even more complex software. I cannot do all that, even more. I try not to. I mean, I believe a company is much stronger if you do this from the ground up.
That's true.
And I rather have this one developer or this designer saying, hey, look, I think we can improve the company or the work that we do for our clients if we do this or that. That's much more powerful as an organization.
And I think that's why they are staying and you're growing, because you already know, you defined your company culture, you defined how it is, so people can be comfortable talking to you, and that's why they're staying.
I hope so. And at the same time, we go to parties together, we organize barbecues, we do stuff that you would also do with your friends. Have a nice night out.
What does LizardApps do?
What does LizardApps do? That's an ever-evolving question. I would say what we do is we build web applications and mobile applications, so apps. Now you have a lot of development companies. I think what sets us apart is that we work with a lot of startups, and those startups can be real startups that are trying to bootstrap themselves, and so with very limited funds, or those can be startups within a large enterprise, within a multinational. What most of our clients, or almost all of our clients, have in common is that they're trying to do something new. They're on this adventure and they're trying to make a new business model happen. And what LizardApps tries to be is this partner at the table, where we're their CTO or CIO, and we really try to think with them from their business model or the goal that they try to reach, the end user. We try to think along. And that's something that we then translate into design, into user stories, in various models. We really try to build up their business from their business idea. A lot of developers and a lot of other software companies, I've noticed, they think very functional. And that's normal, because that's how most developers are trained. All developers are trained functional. But people running a business, they don't think functional. They think much more holistic. They think in terms of term sheets and their clients' satisfaction and all that. And I found that our team, both here in the Netherlands as in Malaysia, has a real talent for translating those business ideas into models that computer programmers can work with, and vice versa. Because the feedback, if developers notice, hey, if we do it like this, it's maybe faster, it's better for the end user, etc. And also that needs to be translated to the customer, to our partner.
Did you maybe have a time where you couldn't, like the client asked for something unrealistic that you couldn't translate that into an app or in a program, that you had to tell them, listen, this is undoable?
All the time, but that's okay, that's our job.
Yeah.
One of the things I studied in Delft, one of my specializations is information architecture.
Yeah.
And the job of the information architect is to stand between the management side of a company and the development side, and basically be an interpreter between them, a translator. And what the information architect does is not just the translation, but then also tries to find the right pathway.
Yeah.
Whatever you change software is at the heart of every company nowadays. Yeah. And if you want to change something in that heart, if you want to perform a surgery on that heart, you need procedures, you need a plan, you need to know where you are now, where you want to go. So I consider that also part of our job, to advise our partners, our clients in that. So this is your end goal, but this might cost a lot of money, or it's too risky. Maybe it will take too long. So there are a lot of small steps in between that you can take and that you can learn from. And I think that's also part of our job. I really want our clients to see us as part of their team.
I like how that you go through with them through the process. That's something not a lot of companies actually do, because just give us what you want and then come back in 3 months or check on us later. But I like that you actually care. This shows that you care.
Well, but what we ask from our clients is a lot of money. And so they deserve to be taken with us in this process. Yeah. They deserve to be heard at every decision that has to be made. Otherwise, for a lot of people, software or buying software almost feels like giving a blank check. Yeah. I don't know, they have a hard time assessing, what is it worth that I'm trying to buy now? Yeah. Will it actually deliver? And again, it's the heart of their company. It's one of their most valuable assets is whatever we deliver. Yeah. So it's my duty to explain.
That's actually nice. All right, if maybe we can talk about what it is the questions that I actually was gonna do a follow-up question to what you were just saying about caring about your client. The question went blank. I really forgot what I wanted to ask you. Yeah, I forgot.
To ask about that.
It was a follow-up question to what you just said about how can because I feel there are the majority of companies who usually develop apps or develop stuff like this that they are not really honest. I heard a guy who is who helps startups to kind of find investors, and he came and he said that I know this guy and I know that his idea is not gonna go anywhere yet, but I will have him as a client, have him pay, although I know his idea is not worthwhile. And I felt but why would you want to win a client that way, not being honest and just say to that person, it's not gonna work, and be, have integrity?
Well, I would say that 95% of all the leads that cross my path, I manage them to get them in as a client. If I believe in the idea.
Yeah.
I cannot sell my services, or nor can I get enthusiastic when I don't believe in the idea. So we have this, I don't care, for example, a lot about, let's say, football. And if somebody starts talking very enthusiastically to me about football, sorry, we will not have a good conversation, because I don't get it. I mean, there's nothing wrong with football, I just don't get it. And I've got the same thing with these ideas that people come and pitch to me. Like, hey, I've got this great idea, and they start telling, and at one point, if I get it, I feel this twinkle in my eyes. I become very happy, and I feel like this ball of energy in myself, and I start, we start brainstorming, and we're not talking about contracts, we're not talking about prices, we're talking about a product. Because that's what apparently we're both very enthusiastic about. So we talk about that, and everything else sorts itself out. Well, but if I don't get the idea, I will not get enthusiastic.
I get it.
And especially with, I mean, in larger corporations it's different, but in these smaller startups, I mean, in the real startups, the bootstrap startups, they're looking for that validation. They'll ask me constantly, what you think, you believe in it. I'm not going to say to somebody that's investing their entire work savings in a project, and the next couple 4 or 5 years, I'm not going to say no. Yes, I believe in it, and if I don't, no, I want to understand how will the model work.
I get it. So you can, I like that. You're gonna have this. It takes strength to tell people the truth sometimes.
But how can I build something if I don't understand it? I can't.
That's true.
I mean, when the client will explain their ideas to me, we at LizardApps, our team, we have to. So it starts with me or the client explaining it to the rest of the team. They have to make designs, they have to write the scenarios of how everything will function. But if we don't get it, then everybody will be on a different plane. Everybody will have a different, see something different. We cannot build that.
I get it. So it's going to be all over the place. There is not one specific clear idea to work on. And
those projects, the 1 or 2 times that it did happen, they're really it's really a lot of work to deliver something that everybody feels more or less happy about. But it's never perfect. And so also there, if we don't feel the idea, then why take the risk? And also there, in the same way, what we talked about with choosing your co-founder, your employees, also your client chooses you and you choose them. I mean, I always try to go for this mutual relationship.
It's like both ways, going in.
How is the startup scene in Belgium? Is it as vibrant as it is here? Is it different?
To be honest, I don't really know. I don't really know. The little bit of Belgium startup scene or working in Belgium that I experience is that the culture is very different. In the Netherlands, you can get to business within 5 minutes. As soon as you shook hands, everybody has their coffee, and we're sitting at a meeting table. We're talking business. In Belgium, I always feel, but maybe I'm wrong, I always feel you have to first build these long relationships about things that don't necessarily have anything to do with what is the meeting about. And I like the Dutch direct can-do attitude. At the same time, these soft factors are very important, because I've been talking a lot about building relationships. but I rather feel that I rather build a relationship about what we're working on and what we're both passionate about.
Yeah, I get it. It's just more straightforward here than is there. So
yeah.
First, you had to, so they will take it maybe in a wrong way if you started to talk about business immediately. They would like, okay, we will talk about our day first or something, then we will.
Well, I'll give you an example. I remember one time, and we're talking now about 3 years ago, I was in Antwerp to discuss a potential partnership with a company over there.
Okay.
And so they were like this, they built websites, but they were more a sales machine than an actual development company.
Yeah.
So I went there to discuss a potential partnership, and I went there with a colleague of mine. We were sitting in the owner's office, and the owner kept on talking to my colleague. He completely kept ignoring me, which is fine in itself, but it was a little bit weird. And every time when he talked to me, it was more to make a little bit fun of me. So that was kind of pushing. But yeah, we were just talking about everything except business. And then, so we arrived there in the morning, then it was time for lunch, so we went to this nice restaurant, had fantastic food, but the same tendency continued. So I was mostly ignored, but again, totally fine. And only at the dessert, he started talking to me, and then we started talking about business and the potential partnership.
Wow.
And then we got back at the office, and we continued talking at the same level. And that was so weird, and in the Netherlands that entire meeting would have taken 20 minutes, and we would both know from the get-go where we were at.
I think I like the straightforwardness of the Dutch culture.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and we're both computer scientists.
Yeah.
So maybe that's why we like it.
Efficient, less time, and effective.
Exactly. You know what you get.
Yeah.
And I mean, action speaks louder than words. So I rather build my relationship with people from our actions about the things that matter.
Yeah. Wow, this is a nice way to actually understand a little bit of the Belgian culture when it comes to.
Well, I mean, it's just one example, and I've also met other Belgian companies that are very, very different. But in overall, that is a sense of feeling that I get. In Malaysia, it happens very different. There again, this culture and these wrong relationships are very important.
How is it to actually have? If you could give another example similar to the one when you want to have a meeting with somebody in Malaysia, how does it go?
Well, we have
your experience.
Yeah, my experience. Well, it's mostly my colleague Martijn that does the sales in Malaysia, and he does it fantastically. Martijn, I always joke that he's our Queen Elizabeth. Everybody knows him, and he will open all the doors. It's fantastic.
Oh, nice. He's Malaysian.
Yeah, in Malaysia. And so he's a Dutch guy that moved to Malaysia, I think about 13, 14 years ago.
Oh, wow.
And he's happy there, and he thrives. It's very different. It's about it's more about the informal network, getting to know each other. Much more, I would say, the Belgian style.
Yeah.
So that's again, it's a whole different culture.
Yeah. When you said that starting your own company was one of the difficult things you have done in your life, how do you deal what do you do when it gets really difficult?
Well, difficult / hard. I mean,
that moment when you were just like stress level till here, how do you manage to deal with the stress? What do you do?
I always liked stress. Can I answer that with a different example?
Sure.
I remember at university, my professor, brilliant guy, he would call all his graduation students every 2 weeks in his office.
Okay.
And we would all sit in his circle, and he would go one by one, ask us questions. How's your graduation, your thesis project going?
Yeah.
And he would ask really hard questions.
What?
Doesn't matter, like, okay, why did you make that decision? But yeah, it was like debating, let's say, Albert Einstein over physics. It's hard. He knows better, and rightfully so. He's a brilliant guy, and he would ask these difficult questions, and people would be frustrated or felt misunderstood sometimes even to the brink of crying. And I remember one time he was very, very hard on me and asking me all these difficult questions. And at the end of the meeting, I said, "This was fun." And he looked at me, "You're weird." But I meant it. It felt to me like riding this wild bear that was trying to shake me off. And of course, it is. I always think when something is hard, or when somebody gives you critique, when you're in a situation that you can improve, it's like a present. Treat it like a present. It's a learning opportunity. So there will be times that being an entrepreneur, starting your own company, is hard. It's difficult, very much so. But you deal with it one challenge at a time. Find your support group. To my friends or to the people around me, I try to talk as openly as possible. Also within our own team at LizardApps, when something is not going right, I try to be very open about it. Maybe they have a new idea. If they don't, maybe they can just cheer me up. It's all fine.
So you would say that you would deal with stress by actually talking about it and not sharing it. Have a support group where you don't necessarily have to carry all that pressure on yourself.
Well, and also look at it as an opportunity to change something.
Okay.
When something is giving you a lot of stress, maybe it's a difficult project or something, or you're not getting the answers that you want, then start looking at your process, and maybe we can improve something there. If you have to do a task that you don't like, maybe you can give it to somebody that does like it. Stress is a symptom of something.
I was just gonna say, I like that you're treating it as a result of something that is happening that's not working out. As a result of that, you have stress. So maybe you look at the process. What am I doing wrong, or what could I do something better?
And this is also what I try to do for our clients. We build something, so we take the client's input, we build a piece of software, then it goes to live in the wild. Okay, does it reach its targets? Okay, there it does very well. On this part, it does a little bit, performs a little bit less. Maybe we made wrong assumptions. Okay, then we change it. It's a living system. It's an ecosystem. Your company is an ecosystem that is alive. Your whatever you do for your clients is an ecosystem, and you need to treat it that way.
Cool. So, what inspires you? Something or someone, or what inspires you?
I find that a very hard question. My co-founders definitely inspire you. Guido, Marielle, the people that I work with inspire me a lot. Because how awesome is it to go to work every day? You're working with people that you think, this is a fantastic team. Other friends that are out in the world doing great things inspire me. Being here at CIC, I find tremendously inspirational. If I look at what, for example, Nick is doing with Volario, the people that we meet at the Venture Cafe, Sky Echo, fantastic. I mean, they improve weather predictions with a factor 10.
So you're living your inspiration basically. Every day you get inspired by your surroundings.
It sounds corny, but yes. A lot of our clients I find very inspirational because they're building their dream, and I can be part of that.
That's awesome.
I think I'm very lucky in that regard.
Where do you see yourself 5 years or 10 years from now?
I hope still at LizardApps.
Okay.
I hope in a very different role.
Retired?
No. I think I'm too much of a workaholic. But right now I feel sometimes too much like a manager, and I want to build products. I want to build products. So I always say to everybody that joins LizardApps, hey, this is my chair. It's a CEO chair. You can have it if you want. But you'll have to work very hard. I mean, I'm not married to the chair. I want, if I could, I would want to build products. Start more or less our own incubator. Have inspiring entrepreneurs around us. I think I would love to do that.
Oh wow! If you could give an advice for young entrepreneurs who are starting, something that you wish if somebody told you before, like an advice that you said, had I known this advice when I was, starting out, I wish if somebody told me and I didn't have to go through it to learn the hard way. What would one advice that you could give young entrepreneurs starting out? Maybe.
Well, I think we already touched on a lot of those. Culture is more important than you think.
In what way?
Well, build your company culture from the ground up. So that should be part of your foundation. Because it's part of your identity. Trust your gut feeling. So it's okay not to take a decision. It's okay not to hire somebody, even though you really, really need extra person. The crazy amount of hours. That's sometimes tough, but hang in there, work your way through it, and enjoy it. I mean, if you're not passionate about it, you cannot do any of that. And if you are passionate about it, it's still hard, but it's okay.
It's doable.
Exactly. I mean, I think professional athletes, they go through the same. It's extremely hard to become a professional athlete. It's anything but easy. They'll deal with a lot of stress, but they love doing what they do. And if you don't, then there's no way that you'll ever find that type of power. I guess
How would people find you if they want to maybe talk to you, be part of your team, or just reach you or hire you?
Well, they can go to our website, LizardApps.com, or mail me at jeremy@lizard-apps.com. Look me up on Facebook, Twitter, doesn't matter. Come and visit me at the Venture Cafe. The door is always open, a cup of coffee is always good. So reach out. I mean, I'm always more than happy to talk to aspiring entrepreneurs or just software in general. It's not a matter of that they become our client or not, it's a matter of having a good conversation.
Any books that you're reading right now?
From good to great.
From good to great. Oh, nice. I will give it a read. Any last words you want to say?
It's beautiful weather today.
Yeah, it is actually. It's actually awesome. I can see the sun is coming in.
No, I mean, I've been very fortunate that most of my life I was able to do and work on the things that I love. And I hope I can continue doing that, and I wish that for everybody. That's awesome.
Jeremy, thank you very much for being part of this podcast. It's an honor talking to you, really. And I know I'm going to talk to you even more in Venture Cafe, for sure. There'll be many conversations coming in. Thanks a lot.
My pleasure.
Hey, we done it.
A wrap?
It's a wrap.